Today we're going to learn about how to write a summary. Can anybody tell me what a summary is? Fisher.
A summary is where you put things in order.
Where you put things in order. What kind of things? Somebody help him elaborate. Mariana?
Like parts of the story.
Parts of the story, like events, right? Okay. So first we're going to watch a little video on how to write a summary, okay?
Today, I want to talk to you about how to write a summary for a fictional text. To summarize means to retell a story in your own words so that it is shorter but still includes the main ideas. Here are some things to remember as you write your summary. Keep it short. Use your own words. Include the main ideas for the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Refer to who, what, when, where, why, and how. Don't include your own opinions about the story or your predictions about how the story will end. One way to summarize fiction is to use the big five. Somebody wanted, but, so, then. Start by telling somebody. Who is the character? Next, tell wanted. What did the character want? Next, tell but. What was the problem or conflict in the story? Next, tell so. How did the character try to solve the problem? Finally, tell then. What was the solution to the problem? Here's a paragraph frame that may help you structure your summary. In title of the text, somebody wanted, describe what the character wanted, but describe the problem. So, describe how the character tried to solve the problem. Then, describe how the story ends or how the problem was solved. That's not so bad. Let's see what a real summary like this looks like. Everyone is familiar with the fairy tale about the three little pigs. Let's use our paragraph frame to summarize that story. In the fairy tale, the three little pigs, the pigs wanted to move out on their own and built their own houses. But the big bad wolf tried to blow their houses down. So the pigs who built their houses of straw and sticks ran into the third pig's house made of bricks. Then, when the wolf couldn't blow down the third pig's house, he climbed down the chimney and fell into the boiling pot of stew. Easy, right? So, next time you read a fictional text or part of a text, like a chapter in a novel, stop and write a quick summary using the big five. Somebody wanted, but so then.
Making progress in your life or in the lives of others starts with one thing. A commitment.
Okay, we're not making progress in anything but reading. Can somebody tell me what the big five were? And just anybody. Somebody give me the first one. Chase, what was the first one?
It was
It started with an S.
yeah, it's something.
What was it?
Wait, no.
Somebody help her out, Trinity.
That's someone.
Somebody.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
what was the next one? Rosalind.
Wanted.
Somebody wanted. Samariana, what was next? But, okay. What came next, Fisher? So, what was our very last one, everybody? Then. So, somebody wanted, but so then, right? Okay. Let's turn the lights on. Alright, so we're going to read a story today. Well, I'm going to read you a story. But before that, there's a little bit of vocab that's going to be in that story that we need to go over, okay? Right up here is your spooky vocabulary. Okay. Can anyone try and guess what this first word is? Can everybody see this?
Gallows.
Gallows. Good job. So gallows are a structure made of wood meant for hanging things. Okay. Number 2,
Prospect.
prospect. Y'all can say it with me. Prospect. The possibility of an event occurring.
Solemn.
Solemn. That means not cheerful or happy. Have you ever been solemn before?
Yes.
Let me take this down a little bit better. Read number 4, please. We all should know what a phantom is. shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Has anybody ever seen one?
I have a phantom in my house.
Oh.
And there's a phantom in school.
Yeah, we have one. Remind me not to come to Fisher's house.
Oh yeah. And I have bots in my house.
Has anybody ever heard
I
of
have
the
bots.
movie?
I have one.
Has anybody ever heard of the movie called Phantom of the Opera?
Yeah. Oh yeah. My dad watched it.
Of the
Have y'all
opera?
ever heard of Haunted House?
Yes. Alright, alright. Alright, number 5.
Hysterics.
Hysterics.
Oh, hysterics.
That Y is like a
Oh,
hysterics.
an emotional and
Over exaggerated reaction. Some of you end up in hysterics a lot for no reason, right? I'm sure everybody in here has. Good try. Okay, good try. You always say it, good try. Paraphernalia. That is
I said that.
equipment that is associated with an activity. Okay? So let's go over one more time. A structure made of wood meant for anything. Okay? Prospect. The possibility of an event occurring. Solemn. Wait, let's all say it together. Solemn. Not cheerful
or happy. Phantom, a ghost or spirit.
hysterics.
An
emotional and
exaggerated
Exaggerated reaction. Paraphernalia.
equipment
Equipment that is associated with an
activity.
Okay? You're going to hear those words quite a few times throughout the story, okay? Alright.
You reading the portion?
I'm reading the chapter from it. Oh, before I read the chapter though, we have one thing to do. Yes, it is. Okay. Everybody else up here. I'm going to pass out this sequence of events paper. It's kind of blurry. But it says first,
Second,
next, then,
last,
finally.
finally.
This line's not important to your attention, okay? So first, next, then, finally. Y'all ready for me?
Yeah, some of them.
Y'all just don't get up right now. We'll clean it up in a second, okay? You're gonna go get some of those paper towels back there to Mariana and Tony and clean it up. We're all right. Alright, what I want you to write me in this sequence of events is only gonna take us a couple minutes. First box, I want you to tell me the first thing you did when you got out of bed this morning. For me, first I checked my phone. I did. Next, I brushed my teeth.
I never check my
But hey, this is just me. This is mine. I want you guys to write about yours. That's what I did. Then, I brushed my hair. Finally, I got dressed and left for school. I want to hear what you guys did. I'm going to go about 2-3 minutes. Okay? I want to hear about what you did first when you woke up, next what you do, then what you do, and finally. It doesn't have to be super long, just to say it, okay?
How do you spell
First, Jonathan fell back to sleep.
What is this? And then it actually tells me that.
Y'all getting it cleaned up? Carry me her way.
How do you spell
E-C-H. Alright, y'all get finished up here. We get started.
What?
E-E-E-C-H.
How do you spell it?
E-R-E-S-S-E.
G-R-E-S-S-T.
Seth, help him spell the word dress, please. Yeah, their spelling is actually perfect. It's not a grade, it's just. Alright,
first or D first?
D as in dog.
Oh, I thought you said G.
As in dog.
D-O-E-G.
We're only gonna do just a minute of this. Eli, what did you do first this morning? First, Eli made his bed. Then, next, let's see, who's got a next? Jonathan, what's your next? Next, he took a shower. Who has a then? Karma, what's your then? Your third one. Then, she got on the bus. And finally, Rosalind, what did you do this morning? She left to school. Okay.
What does this one say here?
Next. Okay. If you're done, I'll pick it up.
Mine are so much different than
It's okay. Everybody's morning routine is different. But see how you're all summarizing what you did this morning? These are the events of what you did to get ready. You done? If you're done, I'll pick it up.
someone talking.
No, that's someone racing. You done? Karma, you done? Thank you. Rosalind? Yeah, this doesn't have to be a paragraph, guys. This is sentences that we. Zephyr, you done?
Hey, you have a
Are you done?
Yeah.
Get your back. I'm gonna give y'all just a few seconds to finish that up. Thank you. So can somebody who's done, remind me what the big five are? Karma,
Somebody
wanted,
wanted, but so then.
but so then. So somebody is our what? Character, right? Or characters. Wanted, what they want. But there's a problem, right? So,
Somebody.
Somebody.
They're figuring out what to like.
they're solving the
The
problem.
solution to this.
Yes, the solution, that's a great word. Somebody wanted, but so,
Then
then what?
something happened.
What happened?
I don't know.
The ending.
Finally,
Eli.
solved the problem.
They solved their problem, so the ending, or the way the story ends. Alright, so finish up. You done, Chase? Thank you. Done, Paisley? Thank you. Let's see. How did you read somebody's? Someone said, first I got dressed. Next I brushed my teeth. Then I brushed my hair, and finally I got on the school bus. I don't know who that was.
Whose name? Mine.
That was Fisher. You done?
Read
First, I get up and start getting ready. Next, I brush my teeth. Then, I make my bed and I brush my hair. Finally, I put my shoes on and I'm out the door. Trinity!
Trinity.
Okay.
Read mine.
Let's see, I'll pull one more random one. Why do I feel like I don't have I don't think I don't.
There's
See.
one more. There's one more.
Last one.
She done.
Thank you. First, I ate breakfast. Next, I got dressed for school. Then I brushed my hair. And finally, I left. With Rosemary.
Rose.
Alright, are y'all ready for this story?
Yes.
Alright. Who has ever heard of the Alabama Ghost books called 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey? So,
Oh, I've heard that. I read that. I watched the video.
listen. So this is written by a lady who lived in Alabama. She's passed away now. Her name was Catherine Tucker Wyndham. She's an author, okay? What's an author?
A person who writes and produces books.
Writes and produces books, great. Okay. So, hold on, it's hot in here. she is the illustrator as well. She did all of her own books. She did one for the state of Alabama. She did them for Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, and I think Tennessee.
So she lived with 3 ghosts?
No, but she wrote about ghost stories that were true from her own estates.
So I'm sorry.
I think she just stepped out in the hallway. She just stepped out in the hallway, I think.
So ghosts are real?
That's your opinion.
Fake. Yes.
Alright, are we listening? Your story is called, look at this one, please. Let's go right here. Your story is called Paint the Gallows Red. Tonight, Ira Mae Barfoot thought to herself, I'm gonna sleep in Grandma's big bed. The young girl shared a bedroom with her grandmother in the Barfoot home in Troy. So that house belongs to the woman in the Barfoot today. Though she did not mind sleeping on the bed by the window, she welcomed the prospect of having the bed all to herself while her grandmother was away. Perhaps, she thought, by sleeping in that bed, she could find out why her grandmother often rose up at night, turned the ceiling light on and off quickly, almost scared, and then got back into the bed. Have y'all ever got scared by something in the middle of the night?
No.
Y'all ever turned your light on?
Yes.
I have.
I was something kept banging on my window.
Alright. Yes, Chase.
Is this still time, like, do you still feel like you have to, like, go to the other class? Is it still time to?
Oh, or you don't want to hear it? That's okay. You can go. Anybody else that doesn't want to hear it?
Wait, do I have to, like, take another they don't mind?
No.
It's a little funny, but, I still want to do it, but I just don't.
It's okay. I don't want you to
I
hear it.
had to turn on the light, and, I was getting scared and
Shut the door.
thinking that it may be a phantom or a spirit, and apparently it was just a baby cockroach.
Alright, well this is not a cockroach. Is a question that can wait till we're done reading because it's a pretty long story. Okay? You don't want to be in here? Go ahead. Push your chair in, please. Alright, everybody else listening? Shut the door behind you, okay? The few times Ira Mae, so who's our character? So far, Ira Mae, okay, had asked her Irish grandmother about the light. She never gave her a real answer. She vaguely talked about seeing things and having really bad dreams. To give an answer like that was not like her grandmother, Miss Elizabeth Jane Crone. It bothered Ira Mae the way she would answer her. It bothered her grandmother too. Her grandmother almost was always so solemn. What is solemn?
Not cheerful.
Not cheerful or happy. When Ira Mae would question her about this unusual behavior, Grandmother Cole normally would just chuckle carefreely. But lately she did not chuckle when Ira Mae asked about the light in the middle of the night. At bedtime that summer night in the early 1930s, long time ago, right? Eva Mae decided to sleep with her head at the foot of the bed. Have y'all ever done that?
That is creepy. I never do that.
She doing it because she wanted to see if she could feel the breeze blowing through the window on a hot summer night. Soon, she fell into a deep sleep. Later, Ira Mae was not able to tell how long she had been asleep when she was awoken by the feeling that someone or something was in the room with her. And she's home alone, remember? Okay? She opened her eyes and stared straight into the face of a man whose blazing eyes burned a hole right through her, it felt like. Ira Mae fainted. So that's supposed to be him. What would you do if you woke up and you were downstairs?
I'd start crying. I would run to out of my bed. I would get out of my bed, turn the light on because they don't really like to. I would just and then run to my mama's room. You know that movie Lights Out? I would just where you turn the light and get a shotgun and shoot.
Alright, ready? As soon as Ira Mae's grandmother returned from her trip and the two of them were alone, Ira Mae told her a frightening experience. Her grandmother looked at her and responded, I have seen him too, many times. That came the explanation of why her grandmother often got up in the middle of the night to turn the light on. When I turn on the light, he goes away, she said. I never wanted to talk about it. Afraid you all would think I'm crazy and old and might send me away. For the next 5 years, these strange visitations continued. For 5 years, grandmother and granddaughter saw a man every night staring at them from the foot of the bed. He wore black pants, a white shirt, was 6'3", so he was very tall, right? Think like Mr. Andy, our officer, taller than that.
My dad's like 6'5".
Muscular, had a dark head of hair, and his eyes were so scary, it was as if they penetrated into your soul. Oh. One night, everybody was asleep with her grandmother, and they heard someone walking from the living room behind the piano and open the doors to their dining room next door. The glasses were being messed with on the buffet table. The floors creaked, and then eventually there was a steady hum of somebody humming a song. Then the door of their bedroom, which was locked, started to open. The door of their bedroom started to open. They both looked at the foot of the bed, and he was standing at the foot of the big bed. I'm not sure she stepped out. She is left on her. They opened their eyes, and he was standing at the foot of the bed.
Miss Baker, can we go to the other one?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, she's on the bottom.
Miss Baker, can you go to the other class where you get there?
What's the last thing that just happened in our story? Who was listening?
Their door opened, the last they looked at the foot of the
He's
bed.
standing at the foot of the bed.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, and I would call Ghostbusters.
So the door swung open, they opened their eyes, and he's at the foot of the bed. They sat and watched him. Eventually, the man walked off, left the room, shut the door, and passed back through the living room, and then there was silence for the rest of the night. As the years passed on, the fear that Irma had with her grandmother from experiencing this was replaced by a real sadness. They were aware that some deep disturbance was in this house stalking their home. They wondered, though they could never find the right way to say it, what kind of memories held this spirit to this house? Then one night, the phantom changed his routine. Irma was 16 years old. Her mother had just had a new baby. Miss Barfoot, Irma's mom, was in the back bedroom taking care of her baby. Mr. Barfoot, Irma's dad, was sleeping. On this particular night, the phantom, so it seemed, walked down the hall and entered a new bedroom, Miss Barfoot in her baby's bedroom. When she saw the figure walk in, she's awake now. She saw the figure walk in. She shrieked with a piercing scream that woke up the entire household. The figure vanished instantly into thin air. By the time Mr. Barfoot, Irma, her grandmother, Mrs. Crone, and the maid had reached the room, the phantom had disappeared, and Miss Barfoot was in hysterics. How do you think she was acting when she was in hysterics?
Like scared and emotional.
Emotional, crying, screaming.
Like,
Mr. Barfoot tried to calm his wife down. He said, now, it was nothing. Probably just your imagination. You're worn out from seeing after the baby. It's nothing. Please don't be upset. But Miss Barfoot was not having it. She told him, either we move or I'm leaving without you. I'm not going to stay here. And so they moved. The Barfoot family moved from their current house to a house on Orion Street in Troy, Alabama. This is the house they moved into. This is their new house. Listen, it's still there. I've been to it.
Wait, you've been to that house? Yeah, I think I saw that house before going to that one.
Everybody see it? It's still standing.
Was it scary?
I didn't go in.
I looked at it and I was saying.
You've seen it? Are you really?
I went in there.
Ready? 122 O'Brien Street. Before they left, Mrs. Barfoot asked some of their neighbors who had lived around for years if there was a history at the house. One of the neighbors said, "You finally saw the ghost." We wondered why you'd never asked about him. His name is Tom Johnson. You've heard about him, haven't you? There's even a song written about him. So, from hearing these conversations and looking at old newspaper clippings, the Barfoot family pieced together the story of their phantom, Tom Johnson. What do y'all think Tom Johnson did?
He haunted us as people better lives. We probably followed him somehow. I'm gonna remember.
What do you think he did while he was alive?
Some probably murdered
Do
people.
you think he was a singer? Do you think he was a murderer?
I think it was a killer. He probably like went into the house and scared
Anyone? We know the name of our ghost. His name is Tom Johnson. Did I were you in here when I showed the house?
That's
And
the
he
house
was
I
house.
was in.
Alright, so let's see about Tom Johnson. Tom Johnson, they learned, was one of 3 men who was hung and killed in Troy on March 13th, 1899, almost 40 years ago, before this. He and 2 other men, Richard Hale and Sam Rivers, were given the death sentence for murdering Mrs. Myers and her daughter-in-law, Ida. Mrs. Myers, they heard, had survived the ordeal and continued to live in the family home after the death of her husband in 1892. She was the mother of 15 children. 15, that was common. That was common back then. That was common. 15. Alright, listen. In 1898, Mrs. Myers moved her daughter-in-law Ida into her living room. The only people in the house were Mrs. Myers, Ida, John Cook, the 23-year-old man they had hired to take care of the land. They all slept in the house together. On December 17, 1898, neighbors awoke. The first neighbor was Miss Myers' son, John. He peered out the window to see his mother's house on fire at 3 in the morning. "It's my mom's house. It's old lady Myers' house," they all exclaimed. Everyone hurried to the scene. Mrs. Myers' son, John, and his farmhand boys, so the people that worked for him, right, were the first to arrive. They found Ida laying in the yard. She appeared to be dead. The maid, Miss Rachel, was mortally wounded from a blow to the head by an axe. She was begging someone to help her up, but there was no helping her. Finally, John Cook, the farmhand, had bloody wounds on his head and was wandering around the yard confused. John Myers, the son, arrived with a wagon to help move the victims away from the scene to his house. When John returned, Mr. Tom Johnson and Richard Hale had joined the crowd in the yard, and they helped move all of the victims. So they're helping, right?
That sounds like dead bodies.
They're helping. They are dead bodies. Some of them. Not everybody.
The one boy was running around.
So far, the only one who's passed away is Ida. We still have Miss Myers, the maid Rachel, and the farmhand boy, Mr. Cook. Okay, they're all alive. Not long after the scene happened, Miss Ida was dead. The family realized that Miss Myers would also not survive. Meanwhile, Richard Hale and Tom Johnson volunteered to ride to Troy to reach Sheriff Sam. They informed him of the vicious attacks on the occupants and asked to bring his bloodhound. Do you know what a bloodhound is? A dog. Police dogs. They like sniff out the crime.
Yeah, they like you could give them something that is the same as a person and they would go around.
Okay, listen. It was Mr. Tom Johnson who suggested sending the bloodhounds in to collect evidence. It was also Johnson who took a washpot and a rag from his wagon and tended to to Miss Myers' pet wound. So he was trying to help us, right? Trying to clean it up. A few days later, Miss Myers passed. Miss Rachel, the maid, passed. All that was left was Mr. Cook, the farmhand. Tom Johnson bought coffins for all 3 funerals. He helped put them in the coffin. He put the lids on. He even helped bury them. So he's being very helpful, right? He's a good man, right?
Right now he is.
Foreshadowing. The 2 men, Tom Johnson and Richard Hale, were as neighborly and as helpful and as concerned as they could be. The next day, a Sunday, Tom Johnson went to Mr. John Myers, Miss Myers' son, and this is Miss Ida's husband, okay? And paid him some money to help him with the funeral cost. The entire community was shocked for weeks, the entire city of Troy. Several weeks later, almost out of the blue, Sheriff Sam arrested Tom Johnson. He arrested Richard Hale. He also arrested a black man named Sam Rivers, who was taken in for questioning. The sheriff was suspicious of Rivers. When he learned that Rivers had paid for purchases at a store with gold coins, they found out those same gold coins had been stolen from the buyers the night of the murder. During that questioning, Mr. Rivers admitted to being at the house when the family was murdered, but he claimed he did not do it. He claimed it to be Tom Johnson and Richard Hale responsible for the crimes. The sheriff forced him at gunpoint to go find Tom Johnson. Tom Johnson was awoken by a knock on his door. 5 heavy blows, like that, but way louder. Could you imagine being woken up at 2 in the morning by that?
Wait.
Basically. Super loud. Tom Johnson and Mr. Hale were arrested. They maintained their innocence. Mr. Johnson's wife, his mother, and his 9-year-old son Charlie confirmed his alibi and stated he was innocent. But the members of the jury believed Mr. Sam Rivers. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1899, Tom Johnson, Richard Hale, and even Sam Rivers, even though he told the truth, were found guilty of murder charges. They were set to be hung from the gallows on March 31st, 1899. That day, the crowds gathered in Troy and came by train, wagon, buggy, horseback, and even walked miles on foot to see the hanging. At 11 a.m., all 3 men were processed from the jail and walked to the gallows one by one. The gallows stood near the Troy City Cemetery. Has anybody ever seen that really big, pretty cemetery outside of Troy? That's where it was. Not far from the site of the house where the Myers family were murdered, also where the Barfoots and Dear May currently live. Sam Rivers was the first to mount the platform of the gallows. He talked for half an hour. He proclaimed his innocence and that God knew he had told the truth and did not murder anyone. Sam Rivers was pronounced dead 30 minutes later. His body was removed. Richard Hale mounted the gallows stand next. He declared he was innocent. Hale wore a bunch of fresh violet flowers on his coat that day, and he told all the young men in the crowd that if he was innocent, these violets on his very coat pocket would stay planted for years and years to come. And they did. Lastly, Tom Johnson mounted the stand. He told his family and friends he'd see them in heaven. He claimed his innocence. Even the Myers family believed he was innocent, because he had helped them so much. Everybody, huh? I'm Steffi. One of the men prayed for the souls of Mr. Johnson in the crowd and wished him a better afterlife. Then Tom Johnson was hung for a murder he did not commit. Then it was over. The story goes that Tom Johnson is the man who stalked the home of the Barclays, which is where the murders took place, because his spirit was angry. He was angry that he had been committed and tried for a murder he did not commit. I'm gonna show you. He had been tried for a murder he did not commit. He was told that he was guilty when he was innocent. Every now and then, you can hear old people in Troy singing and playing a song written about Tom Johnson. Paint my gallows red, paint my gallows red, paint my gallows red, so the whole Myers family will know that I am dead. There are other lines of the song, but this is the one that most people sing. Ira Mae Barfoot learned of this song, and as she played and sung it the older she got, she still wondered, why did Tom Johnson decide to haunt her home? Was there something about her grandmother that reminded him of the old Miss Myers? Did he come to prove that he meant no harm? Had someone closely connected with the murders lived in the house that he haunted? Did Tom Johnson have memories that led him to this house? Why did he decide to haunt them? Why? This is Ira Mae Barfoot. See the ghost behind her? This is a real picture. Y'all see the ghost holding a knife or something? Looks like. That's Ira Mae Barfoot. That's a ghost, they claim. They claim that's Tom Johnson. 3 innocent men.
What they do? So he was like this. So they just hanged him and
They hung him from the gallows so they couldn't breathe.
oh, so his blood would go to his head and it would pop.
Alright. We listened to this story. Here's what we're gonna do now. You're gonna break into your groups, and you can find a spot in the room wherever you want. I have a paper for you, and we have color and stuff. I want you guys to retell me the story. Okay? It doesn't have to be super detailed. You don't have to write paragraphs. It can be a couple sentences, and I want you to draw it for me.
Can we write here?
You can, but
Do I have to write
like, look, if I were doing it, my first picture would be Ira Mae laying in her bed seeing a man for the first time.
Yeah.
And you can write that.
How do we?
My second picture might be Ira Mae and her grandmother seeing a man come through their door at the same time. Then, you might write about the murders. Then, you can write about the ending of your story.
How many do we have to write? You want the big ending.
Alright, group 1, y'all are right here. Yes. Group 2. And there's coloring stuff right here, and if you have your own, you can use that as well.
She said
Okay, we'll do 2 groups. Paisley and some people left.
yeah.
Y'all are gonna be one group. Girls, y'all join this group 7 and 1. Alright, I'm gonna give y'all about 10 minutes, okay?
But how long are those girls gonna fit out here?
I think it's so scary that it's a true story. Alright, Seth, Eli, and Corey, y'all working together. Eli's already started, y'all better get up here.
I got the mark. You got all the girls that are on the board.
Yeah, all the girls are on yours, y'all share. Alright, get in there for me, get in there. Okay, girls, make sure you all have a say so in it, okay?
Why do they have one? No, that ain't the porch step. It's like the regular bed. Why do good? It's okay. Why do they have one eye? No, that's the bed. It looks like a person on the
work together. Don't leave anybody out.
Dang, that's so hard.
Well, just explain to him what he's doing. Hey, it's scary when you see the house in daylight. And you pass by it, and you see a man sitting in the window, and you wonder if that's a real person or not.
Maybe we can like do another picture of people that live right next to the farm. Watching if we did this. We should put
He's still there.
no, but did it follow us to the
Hold on a sec.
Can you write the letters names on the board?
I'll write character names.
Follow this to the top of the
Maybe that's smaller.
Dang, that's already good. Is it? Wait. Okay.
Hey, everyone, I'm gonna write the character names up here.
Yeah, that's that bird. We still write Oh no. I forgot to say we can write the name. I got a good story. Very good one. At least I got a 10. At least a ghost, he doesn't look like he should look like. He's not supposed to be on the bed though. He's not on there.
Remember, where did the ghost of Tom Johnson stand usually?
On the door.
Either in the door or at the foot of the bed.
I'm doing foot of the bed. That is not the foot. This is the foot. What's up there? You're on the bed. No, it's not. He's at the end of the bed. Okay. That's the end. Who are the two people that wake up in the bed? The grandma?
Alright, look, here's the characters. Boys, are you listening? Look, girls, are you listening? We have Ira Mae, her grandmother, Mr. and Mrs. Barfoot, who are Ira Mae's parents, Tom Johnson, and you have the Myers family who was murdered. His eyes were glowing red and he stared straight through you. But
It was
those
like-
Tom Johnson. Alright, y'all, we're kind of talking.
I can do it without the
Matilda's writing the character names down. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, you're fine. It doesn't have to be super descriptive. You don't gotta have
That
a
looks
picture
like
of the animal.
11 on Stranger Things when her eyes start to blink.
I just want 4 events from the story. They have to be in order, okay?
So we'll do every man.
Tell them that, Mariana.
Hold on.
Tell them that. Y'all need 4 events from the story and they have to be in order.
You know he's best. That's not in the middle of the story. Get into that story.
He was wearing black pants and a white shirt.
You like that.
You don't have to
How is that gonna work? I was gonna write Did he have colors?
You can just pick 4.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
First, next, then final.
Wait, I
Whatever
need a
color
black
you want.
mark. I'm gonna draw mine. I'm saying all 6 of us supposed to write.
Y'all work together. One person can write, one can color, another can write, another can color, y'all can turn.
Oh, yeah.
Include everybody. Well, y'all make room for everybody. Look, she gave you character names.
Miss Baker, why are there so many girls? Miss Baker, can we add red to his pants?
Was there any on his pants in the story? No. He
He wasn't commended for the crime.
Nope.